Live, local, news. KSBY News at 6 starts right now.
Well, here we go. We start tonight with live local coverage of the 2012 California primary election. Voters are deciding county supervisorial races, local measures, and some state propositions.
We bring everything to you. We've got a live team coverage throughout the night for you. Caroline Lowe joining us from Santa Maria. Cameron Polam in San Luis Obispo.
Nikki Ibarra is in Santa Barbara, and Hope Hanselman is in San Luis Obispo.
We are going to be checking in with everyone throughout the evening to bring you live coverage and the latest information on the primaries, the measures, everything. But first, we're going to head over to Kathy Koretich, who's in the Election Center. Kathy, you're covering state races and propositions for us tonight. Got a lot on your plate.
We do, John. Well, good evening, John and Jeanette, and welcome to the Election Center. There are a lot of people hard at work behind me, and we are going to be monitoring the results as they come in tonight. So let's jump right into it. The races before voters this election day. First up, the hotly contested race for the newly redrawn District 24 U.S. Representative seat. Democrat and current 23rd District Representative Lois Capps, who's been drawn into the new 24th District, is going up against two Republicans, former Lieutenant Governor and business owner Abel Maldonado and actor, writer, and businessman Chris Mitchum. San Luis Obispo native Matt Boutte is also in the running. He's a law student with no party affiliation. Now, the top two vote getters will advance to the general election. And in District 17 state Senate race, which covers all of San Luis Obispo County, both candidates on the ballot will be advancing to the general election. In District 19, which includes all of Santa Barbara County, former Assembly member and Democrat Hannah Beth Jackson is competing with fellow Democrat Jason Hodge, firefighter and harbor commissioner. Also in the running, Republican Mike Stoker, a former Santa Barbara County supervisor. Again, the two top will advance to the general election. And in District 35 and 37, assembly races, all candidates are moving forward to the general election, being that there are only two in each race. Now, coming up at 6:30, two heavily debated propositions, of course, Prop 28 and 29. We are going to be breaking those down for you coming up. So for now, live and local in the Election Center, Kathy Koretich, KSBY News.
All right, take a breath there. You'll be busy all night. Senator Dianne Feinstein will face off with 23 candidates. The top two vote getters in that race will advance to the general election. We'll be following that as well.
Now, voter turnout is not expected to be that great today statewide. There isn't a big presidential primary battle drawing people to the polls, so it is the local and state races that have to do the job. Hope Hanselman is live at the San Luis Obispo Veterans Hall tonight, one of many polling places across the Central Coast. And Hope, the turnout wasn't stellar earlier when we talked to you at 5. Has it picked up now that quitting time is kicked in?
Jeanette, yeah, we're live and local here in San Luis Obispo at the Vets Hall, and you can see a couple people here behind me. There's more coming in. They'll be open tonight until 8 p.m. That gives you just about 2 hours to get your vote in if you haven't come down already. Now, if you haven't yet registered to vote, you will be out of luck. There is no day of registration. California law says that voters must register 15 days before the election. That puts the deadline around May 21st. Some registered voters were here today but turned away. That was because of redistricting.
Well, they've just had redistricting, so I didn't think about that, but I'm glad I came down early enough to make sure that I get to the other place to go vote.
Now, Rachel says she's been voting at the same place here at the Vets Hall for the entire time she's lived in San Luis Obispo. That's about 8 years. So for many people, their designated polling places have changed. You should be able to find those noted on your sample ballot, or you can look it up on your county's website. Now, if you're coming here today to turn in a vote by mail ballot, you won't have to worry about where your designated polling place is. You can turn those in anywhere, including the county clerk's office. Just make sure you do it before 8 p.m. Live and local in San Luis Obispo, Hope Hanselman, KSBY News.
You just answered a big question for me, Hope, because I forgot to put mine in the mail. It does sound like locally they expect the turnout to be higher than state averages, though, even though people aren't necessarily walking into polling places like they used to.
That's true. It's a trend. This vote by mail is a trend that's going on statewide. In fact, this year they're expected to see the highest number in the state's history of those vote by mail applicants. So it's really just helping people out. Jeanette.
All right. Thank you very much. Hope Hanselman in San Luis Obispo. We'll be chatting with you later tonight.
Santa Maria voters will decide today if the city should increase its sales tax. The Measure U ballot proposal would raise the current sales tax from 7.75% to 8%. Now, city leaders say they need the temporary quarter-cent hike to restore police and firefighter positions lost because of budget cuts. Caroline Lowe joins us from City Hall in Santa Maria. This is actually a very big deal for the city.
It's huge, John, but right now the City Council is just minutes away from getting their agenda underway. Measure U is not on the agenda, but that's all everybody's talking about. It's a big thing on everybody's mind here at City Hall. Now, city leaders have campaigned for months trying to educate voters on the need for the sales tax hike. They hope that voters will decide to give them the extra cash flow that they say they need to make up for big cuts in state aid and other sources of revenues they lost in this tough economy.
We have been deleting positions, we've been eliminating positions, we've been furloughing employees, we've been getting concession bargaining from the employee groups. We have done our job and our due diligence to reduce the expenditures as much as we can. We're down to the bare bones.
Now, the tax hike would mean you would pay 1 cent more for every $4 that you spend on goods in Santa Maria, or that translates to a quarter on every $100 you spend. The City Council meeting is expected to be a very short one. Their council members are expected to go right from this meeting with the city managers to another location in town where they're going to sit and wait out the voter results. They hope to have some numbers sometime after 8:30, and we'll be bringing you all the results tonight at 10 and 11. Live and local in Santa Maria, Caroline Lowe, KSBY News.
Caroline, this measure would create revenue for everything from the police and fire departments and positions like that, but also for the levy, work on the levy. How soon would the sales hike take effect if it does get approved?
If it goes through tonight, it'll take effect October 1st. That's when you'll start having to pay the extra, but the city won't get the first revenue until January 1st. And one of the things they're telling me today is if they don't get the money, you're looking at a brand new fire station scheduled to open in the northeast part of town in a month, and that's going to be a beautiful new station with no firefighters inside.
Wow, an empty building for a while. Well, the big decisions down there, you say 8:30, we might get some results. We will be back to you.
8:30, somewhere in that area. We'll go over there and check in, and we'll bring them to you later on.
All right, thank you.
And people in Santa Barbara County are voting on 4 other different measures today, 3 of which would raise money for schools. Measure V affects the Buellton Union School District. It would provide an 11-year extension of an existing bond, generating $3.2 million in cash for the district. Measures W and X authorize the Santa Barbara Unified School District to implement separate $54 per year parcel taxes for 4 years. W affects junior highs and high schools. X affects elementary schools. Both are aimed, of course, at offsetting budget cuts. And Santa Barbara's Measure Y would allow a public road and bridge for the Veronica Meadows housing development to be built on undeveloped city parkland.
A lot to keep track of. We're going to do it tonight for you. The incumbents in several county supervisor races are fighting to keep their jobs.
Coming up, we'll take a look at the seats up for grabs in Santa Barbara County and the candidates hoping to win your vote.
It's one of the hottest races of this election season is the race for county supervisor. I'll let you know what candidates have been up to leading up to tonight's primary after the debate or after the break.
One of the hottest races on the Central Coast seems to be the District 3 race for San Luis Obispo County Supervisor. At times, the 2 campaigns have gotten pretty vocal, at least, towards each other. And the candidates are Adam Hill, the incumbent, and Ed Waggy, that is, who is a council member from Pismo Beach. Now, tonight, it's about who used the right words in the right way to entice voters to support them at the polls. Cameron Polam is covering the District 3 and 5 races in San Luis Obispo County. Cameron, what's happening? How are things looking?
John, it's calm in here now, but one race has energized the election today, and that race is the race for San Luis Obispo County Supervisor. I spoke with candidates from District 3 about the last few days leading up to tonight's primary, and both have been busy, to say the least. It's been a grueling campaign season according to both candidates, but today the time has come to find out the results of their efforts. Both candidates spoke about job creation and economic development throughout their campaigns, and over the last week, reaching out to voters has been a top priority.
Still be, contacting voters, making sure they get out to vote. So there'll still be phone banking. There'll be sign waving on a lot of the intersections. I'll be out on intersections in different places throughout the district with friends, waving signs.
We have a great group of volunteers that have been helping out since I first announced, and that's the key to winning an election, is getting a good group of volunteers to help you. You can't do it all by yourself.
Both candidates say they believe they've done all they can to get their message out, and at this time it's basically left up to the voters. And now another tight race will be the District 5 San Luis Obispo supervisor race between Supervisor Jim Patterson and challenger Debbie Arnold. Now 4 years ago that race was actually determined by fewer than 400 votes, so expect that one to be close. Live and locally in San Luis Obispo, I'm Cameron Polam, KSBY News.
A lot of friction in that race as well. Cameron, tell me about, we have those situation with the 900 improperly registered votes from Cal Poly and Cuesta College. How are they going to affect the District 5 results? How do they factor in?
Yeah, as you know, we've reported over the last couple of days that 900 registered voters registered through Cal Poly and Cuesta College, but the person who took those voter registration cards turned them in past deadlines. So basically both candidates are concerned because of the tight race, and over the last couple of years this is historically a tight race. They're concerned that those 900 registered voters will count in this race. So it's to be determined what that actually will mean for this election in this district, but we'll keep you updated on those numbers throughout the night. John.
All right, Cameron, sit tight, take a deep breath. We will be back to you.
And there are 2 seats being fought for on the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors, District 3 and District 4, both of which cover big portions of northern Santa Barbara County. Nikki Ibarra is live in Santa Maria tonight, caught up with some of the candidates as well today. Nikki, what's the situation your way?
Well, Jeanette, for most of the candidates I spoke to today, economic development is at the top of their to-do list if elected. Former Lompoc Mayor Joyce Howerton says there are too many minimum wage jobs throughout this county. And so if she's elected, she plans to work with more companies to come to Santa Barbara County to offer that. Joni Gray, who's been 4th District Supervisor for 14 years now, says this time around she'll be focusing on economic development. She says it will generate more revenue for the Santa Barbara County. Peter Adam, also running for 4th District, says the county needs businesses who actually want to be here and want to contribute to the community.
I think we need to change our behavior as a government to be much more fiscally responsible.
So we really need to look seriously at bringing jobs, but we've got a lot of $6 jobs in this community.
So now we need to develop business so we can generate more revenue.
And John, 3rd District Supervisor Doreen Farr paid a visit to UC Santa Barbara today. She wanted to talk to students about keeping their future business here in the county. 3rd District candidate Stephen Pappas, who also is a small business owner, says on his website that the county is spending way too much money, and he'd rather see that in things that matter, like public safety. And if you remember back in 2008, when Farr won the supervisor seat over Pappas, he filed a complaint alleging evidence of fraud. The case made it to the court, and back in August, a judge ruled that Pappas had to pay back Farr's legal fees totaling more than $500,000. And Jeanette, the state elections fraud division found no evidence in fraud in the Farr and Pappas race of 2008. Live and local in Santa Maria, Nikki Ibarra, KSBY News. Jeanette?
A lot of rematches in this primary race. Thank you very much, Nikki. We will, of course, keep you up to date on all of these races and the rest of your election coverage as soon as the numbers start to come in.
Well, we'll be keeping our eye on those numbers while our partner over here, Dave Huntley's keeping his eyes in the skies, at least covered if you look there.
The wind numbers are already up. From the last time I visited with you, now some of the gusts across the Central Coast back up into the 40-mile-per-hour range. So advisories out there tonight. A rare solar happening as well. We'll tell you what's between us and the sun. We'll do all that coming up. This is a live look at conditions in San Luis Obispo. The wind blowing that flag. And of course, it's election day. That's a great shot. Stay right there. The forecast next.
Now, your live, local TrueView 6 weather forecast with meteorologist Dave Hupty.
Millions of eyes to the skies today, hopefully properly protected. This is huge. This is a transit of Venus across the sun. What does that mean? A transit means that Venus is on the solar disk right now. There you can see it moving across. This is how historically we found out how big an astronomical unit is, how large the Earth is. This is how we're figuring out whether or not other suns have planets, by noticing the diminishing amount of light between us and other stars. This won't happen again till 2117. We haven't seen this on the Central Coast since 1882. Wow, we've got links to the live coverage that NASA TV has out there, and we're getting so many great shots from you folks. If you want to see some great local shots of the transit of Venus, they're on my Facebook page. Find that out today. And if you've got great ones, I want to see them too. Wind advisory in place till 8 o'clock tonight for the Central Coast. Wind warning for the Santa Barbara County Mountains until 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Some gusts 40 to 60 miles per hour. We're in the lower part of the range right now on the Central Coast. I've updated this grouping. 40 San Luis Obispo, a gust of 41 in Santa Maria, 37 Santa Barbara, 40 in Vandenberg, and 41 in Lompoc. Conditions right now: 58 in San Luis, 59 Santa Maria, 68 in Solvang, 70 in Santa Barbara, 69 in Paso Robles. And the live wind speed, the 1 minute average now is up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. So it is roaring out there. Low pressure from yesterday, cold air in across places like Nevada. We saw some of that yesterday, and even some sprinkles locally, with high pressure building in behind it. Now tomorrow, the high pressure builds in over the landmass, turns the winds more northerly. It's going to be much warmer tomorrow. By the way, all the daytime highs, morning lows at the bottom of your screen. Details about marine advisories related to all this wind also online, and you get a video version of the forecast and more on the Venus transit, all at KSBY.com. 76 in San Luis Obispo tomorrow, 73 in Santa Maria, 70 in Lompoc, 75 Los Alamos, 77 Santa Ynez, 80 in Goleta, and 73 in Orcutt. Moving up the coast, here's what it looks like. 67 Pismo, 71 in AG, 72 in Nipomo, 68 in Guadalupe, 79 in Shandon. Overnight lows in the mid-40s. 65 Cambria, 63 Morro Bay, and 84 in Atascadero. Well, the rest of the forecast still breezy in the afternoon on Wednesday and Thursday. However, we'll get enough of a morning either neutral or offshore push to get the temperatures back up into the mid to upper 70s around San Luis Obispo, but more of an onshore dominant pattern by the time we get into the weekend, and still locally breezy. Paso Robles, North County 84 tomorrow, back up into the 90s on Thursday and Friday, then backing off. And Santa Barbara in the South Coast, 80 tomorrow, 77 Thursday, back off into the lower 70s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Shaky Skycam 6 in San Luis Obispo. The wind is roaring out on the Central Coast, and that's a live local look at it. JT, John, back to you.
All right, Thank you, Dave. Hopefully that's not keeping people away from getting to those polling places. They've still got another hour and a half.
All right, our coverage of Decision 2012 continues on this newscast. Coming up tonight on KSBY News at 6:30, local political expert Mike Latner joins us to break down the big questions facing California voters on this election day.
And day 2 of the Major League Draft has been memorable and historic for Central Coast baseball stars. Sports is up next. Andrew Masuda joins us on this big election night. And Andrew, Major League Baseball casting their votes for the people they want for the future.
Exactly, and a few locals had their names called today. Major League dreams came true today for 6 more Central Coast stars, including Nipomo High's Ryan McNeil. The right-handed pitcher went to the Chicago Cubs in the 3rd round this morning. The Long Beach State recruit was the 101st overall pick, making him the highest drafted Central Coast prep star since Danny Duffy 5 years ago. McNeil is thrilled to become a Cub, though he says it got a little stressful this morning with multiple teams calling him at the same time.
Having to make quick decisions because there's not a lot of time. I mean, teams are on the clock, so they have to know, hey, are you going to go? Are you going to go? So it was hectic. I got through it, and it's a dream come true, and I'm just really excited to get out there and start playing.
Now, Ryan graduates from Nipomo High Friday. He's leaning towards signing with the Cubs rather than attending Long Beach State. Cal Poly senior shortstop Mike Miller was taken in the 9th round by the Boston Red Sox. Miller joins Mitch Haniger as drafted Mustangs. Haniger was drafted by the Brewers last night with the 38th overall pick.
I was sitting on the couch with my brother, and we were watching the draft online, and, you know, the Red Sox popped up, and then a few seconds later it said Mike Miller from Cal Poly drafted, and, you know, he lost it. He was real excited, and I was kind of I was without words.
Yeah, breathtaking. Didn't really expect it because they just had taken an outfielder, and typically teams don't take back-to-back guys at the same position, but fortunate enough to be with the Brewers, and I couldn't be happier.
UCSB center fielder Brett Vertigan went in the 10th round to Oakland. It was an historic draft day for Cuesta and Allen Hancock College baseball. Former Cuesta pitcher John Moscott went in the 4th round to the Cincinnati Reds. It's believed to be the highest a former Cougar has ever been drafted. Hancock star River Stevens went in the 9th round to the San Diego Padres. The 20-year-old led the state with a .449 batting average in his only year at Hancock. Stevens is believed to be the highest drafted Bulldog in school history. Former Cougar Danny Poma went in the 10th round to Arizona. San Luis Obispo native Jeff Powers has made the first round of cuts for the U.S. Olympic men's water polo team. The 32-year-old is a 2-time Olympian. He scored 6 goals for the silver medal-winning U.S. team in Beijing. Unfortunately, though, former UCSB All-American Brian Alexander did not make the cut and was left off the final training roster. The team is coached by Santa Barbara native Terry Schroeder. Bad news there for Alexander, but at least SLO native Jeff Powers is going in.
Yeah.
Great draft day as well.
Excited guys. Great future for him. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, some serious issues facing Californians today when they walk into those polls. And still ahead on KSBY News at 6:30, local political expert Mike Latner is working in the computer right now in our newsroom. He's going to tell us how your vote impacts lawmakers at the state capitol. Hey, Mike.
Plus, if you voted today, you may not have seen a lot of traffic at your polling place. We will tell you why. Stay with us.
Live, local, news. KSBY News at 6:30 starts right now.
We're staying in touch with the lady that covers this kind of thing here for the county, and it is the same everywhere.
Voter turnout is down tonight as people are still heading to the election polls. We'll have a breakdown of all the numbers.
This year's primary election is expected to draw the lowest voter turnout in a long time.
California's field poll estimates only about 35% of registered voters will cast their ballots today. Hope Hanselman is live at a polling place in San Luis Obispo. Hope, 33% is what they're figuring. What's the turnout like there? Is that survey holding up?
Well, John, I've been talking to these guys behind me, and they're telling me it's not good. Normally, they'd have a lot more to do around here. We're live and local in San Luis Obispo at the Vets Hall. This polling location has been open since 7 a.m., and let's see, no one here behind me right now. But they say since they've been open, they've had just about 100 people come in to cast their regular vote. Now, you guys mentioned it earlier, the field poll estimates no more than 6 million voters in the state will cast their vote today, and that's only about 1 in 4 eligible adults. The San Luis Obispo clerk recorder is telling me she's been in contact with all the polling places, and all of them are looking about the same, that the walk-in turnout is not going to come close to what it was in the 2010 election.
That is very different from what we have had, for example, in the same time frame 2 years ago.
Now, the polling officials here are telling me that it's because more people are voting by mail. Santa Barbara County has already received more than 45,000 votes by mail, and as of noon today, San Luis Obispo is at about 43,000. They say they're hoping to hit about 50,000 by the end of the day. Now, the last hour here, these guys have been telling me, has really picked up, but what do you think, guys? It might slow down from here on out. You've got about another hour and a half to get out here and cast your vote. After that, votes won't count. Live and local in San Luis Obispo, Hope Hanselman, KSBY News.
All right, thank you, Hope. And we will be back to this polling place here that she was at. We will be back to her to check on how the final numbers are coming in. All right, let's move on here.
All right, voters are deciding a lot of things at the state level, whether to limit term limits and put an additional tax on cigarettes. We want to turn things over to Kathy Koretich. She is live in our election center once again to break down Proposition 28 and 29. And Kathy, there's been a lot of confusion, actually, not just a little, when it comes to Proposition 29.
Correct, Jeanette. On the ballot, it says it reduces the total amount of time a person can serve in the state legislature from 14 to 12 years, and it allows all 12 of those years to be served in one house. But that's the part that's drawing some confusion. As it is now, lawmakers can spend a total of 14 years in both houses, 6 years maximum in the Assembly and 8 years in the state Senate. Now, if Proposition 28 passes, lawmakers can only serve 12 years in the state legislature instead of the current 14, but all 12 can be served in one house. Now, supporters say it will make the state legislature more accountable and stop career politicians. Opponents, though, call it a scam, saying lawmakers' time in office will be doubled, not reduced. Now, moving on to Proposition 29, it would add an additional $1 tax on cigarettes for cancer research. Supporters say it would bring $735 million annually to fund cancer research and tobacco prevention programs. Opponents say it doesn't require revenue spent in California and creates more bureaucracy. Now, polls taken throughout the campaign have showed support for both propositions, but we will know what voters decide in just a few hours. Live and local in the Election Center, Kathy Koretich, KSBY News.
All right, Kathy. Prop 29 is supported by the American Cancer Society, but opposed by the California Taxpayers Association.
All right, we've got a friend here on election night with us. We've had before Dr. Michael Latner from Cal Poly, a political expert. We're going to start with Proposition 28. And this one can get a little tricky. Explain it to me, and how will it affect the composition of the legislature?
Well, it shaves 2 years off the total terms that legislators can serve, but it does lengthen the average term. And so the practical consequence will be that legislators will be able to serve out in longer terms in either chamber, so they can serve out their full terms in a single chamber.
So the big sell was that, it'll limit career politicians, but really it kind of creates a longer career politician in one house.
There's no doubt that it will lengthen the average term that people actually serve. Now, in terms of consequences, it's hard to say with a straight face that governance has really improved since the California legislature implemented term limits, and the possible outcome will be that by averaging those terms out a little longer, you're going to give legislators more time to develop relationships and draw back some of the power into the legislature that it might have lost as a result of term limits. Because, for example, lobbyists never leave Sacramento, and so they have no term limits. And the governor's office actually has been strengthened as a result of term limits because they already have an advantage in things like the budgetary process. So by strengthening the role of legislators, you might actually get some improved governance, particularly when it comes to things like oversight.
Boy, that's a lot for voters to sort out. Now, one thing I'm fascinated with in the primary process now is that you can vote for either party or either candidate, no matter what party they're representing and what party you are in a primary. How about that for this election?
Yeah, that's probably the single most consequential thing that's happening today, is that we're taking our new electoral system for its first run around the road. And that's actually going to have serious consequences in terms of what we see in November, but it's not going to achieve the goals that the proponents probably set out. So in November, we're probably going to see up to 20 state races where you're only going to have Republicans or only Democrats on the ballot in November. So that's going to be a big change. What it's probably not going to achieve, though, is more moderate legislators, because the bottom line is we have conservative and liberal districts, and you're not going to change that.
Interesting.
I'd like to ask about these 900 votes that were misregistered in some way. If it's a very tight, there's going to be some tight elections. Absolutely. Could we see some suits, lawsuits based on this?
Oh, absolutely. My understanding is that the county clerk has started an investigation. And when we look at 900 registered voters, primarily from Cuesta and Cal Poly campuses, now even if students don't vote at the highest rates, which they don't, 900 votes is a lot. The last contest between Debbie Arnold and Jim Patterson, for example, for the 5th Supervisorial District was decided by a little over 300 votes. So it could absolutely make a difference.
Wow. All right, we certainly appreciate your insight on all of these issues, and it just shows that a primary can be really interesting, and this one particularly.
Even if few people turn out.
That's right.
That's right.
All right, well, we will keep you around the newsroom because we want to hit you up for your insight throughout the evening, but thanks for being with us on our news
We've
tonight.
got pizza for you too, so
it's election night.
That'll keep you around, hopefully.
Thanks, Doctor. Well, the same-sex marriage ban in California back in court today, still ahead what the court announced earlier, and the next step for the folks who back the ban.
Plus, after much delay, the trial of the former Penn State football coach accused of sexually abusing young boys is underway. We'll have the latest. In news across California, the sponsors of a gay marriage ban are taking their case to the Supreme Court. The 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals announced today it will not reconsider a ruling from a 3-judge panel which struck down Proposition 8. Of course, that's the voter-approved ban on same-sex marriage in California. So the backers of the ban will ask for the Supreme Court to take the case. Attorneys for Prop 8 supporters expect to hear this fall whether the court will consider the case. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker cast his vote earlier today, only 17 months after taking office. It's a rematch from 2010 when Democrat Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett lost to Walker by 5 percentage points. State Democrats got more than 900,000 signatures to support a recall vote.
Guilty. That is the verdict for the 4th person in the Arroyo Grande cross-burning case. 32-year-old Jeremiah Hernandez could face up to 14 years in prison. Police say Hernandez was one of the 4 people who burned a cross next to an African-American woman's home in the 100 block of South Elm Street back in March of last year. The other 3 pled no contest to the charges against him. Hernandez will be sentenced June 27th. A man in Santa Barbara is in jail after police say they found a loaded gun in his car as well as some other suspicious things while he was a felony on probation. Officers say it was on the intersection of Calle Real and Highway 154 around 9:30 Sunday. 21-year-old Joseph Albert Roberson was stopped for not having his lights on, but when officers searched his car, they say they found a loaded handgun, 500 rounds of ammunition, a ski mask, black gloves, and a black bandana. Roberson was booked into Santa Barbara County Jail.
Jury selection began today in the child sex abuse trial of a former Penn State University football coach. Jerry Sandusky is facing dozens of criminal counts stemming from the alleged abuse of 10 boys over a 15-year period. Today's action inside the courtroom focused on finding impartial jurors, which may not be an easy task. Brian Moore has more.
Day 1 of jury selection in Jerry Sandusky's sex abuse trial, and the former Penn State coach appeared subdued as he entered the courthouse.
At one point, the judge reminded the jury pool why they were there. He said, I need you to all have an open mind. This defendant is charged with the sexual abuse of children. And at that point, Jerry Sandusky looked down and did not make eye contact with anybody.
This was the start of what could be a difficult narrowing process. More than 200 people divided into groups of 40 and questioned by the judge.
When he asked the jurors where they worked, 14 indicated they were employed by or retired from Penn State. Then they were asked if any of them knew Jerry Sandusky personally, and 4 people held up cards.
Sandusky faces 52 criminal counts for the alleged abuse of 10 boys, some on the Penn State campus, some members of a charity for at-risk youth. Despite intense media coverage, the judge decided jurors will be allowed to come and go from their own homes.
He said he's trusting them to not be sequestered, and he reminded them, and he said, I quote, the people selected to be jurors in this case hold justice in their hands.
The first steps in what could be a long road to justice. Brian Moore, NBC News, Bellefonte, Pennsylvania.
Now, the judge in the case says he expects opening statements to begin on Monday, next Monday. If the court can't find suitable jurors, they'll have to be brought in from a neighboring county.
Happening right now, the Atascadero Planning Commission is meeting to vote on whether a Walmart will be coming to town. If approved, the store would be built at Del Rio and El Camino Real. The Planning Commission will look at the findings of a report that will show how the store could affect the area. There'll also be an opportunity for you to comment on the construction proposal. The meeting is underway at the City Council chambers. A major road that takes you inland will have detours for the next 3 days. State Route 41 will be fully closed from 8 to 5 starting tomorrow through June 8th. The closure will extend from 46 East to the Chelam Y to State Route 33. Drivers heading northbound may continue on 46 to the 33 and then get on State Route 41 after the construction. If you're traveling southbound on 41, you can use State Route 33 to the 46 and avoid the construction altogether. And if you're confused, go to KSBY.com.
In news around the world, U.S. officials say Al-Qaeda's second-in-command has been killed by a drone strike in northern Pakistan. Abu Yahya al-Libi escaped from an American military prison in Afghanistan in 2005. He moved up to Al-Qaeda's #2 spot after Ayman al-Zawahiri replaced Osama bin Laden as the head of the terror group. White House spokesman Jay Carney called al-Libi's death a major blow to al-Qaeda, though he didn't confirm how he died. U.S. officials confirmed to NBC News it was a CIA drone strike in Pakistan's Waziristan province. A soldier is back home tonight after spending time overseas. Colonel Kelly Fisher returned to San Luis Obispo earlier today. She's been serving the U.S. and Afghanistan for 8 months. Friends and family gathered today to help welcome the soldier home.
I'm very proud of her. She works hard, and I'm sure she did the best she can, and I'm glad she's back.
When asked what she plans on doing tonight, she said she wants to enjoy time with friends and family.
As she should. Well, no doubt it is windy out there tonight. We're going to check back in with meteorologist Dave Hovde and see if it's going to end anytime soon.
It's so windy it could move Venus around. But first, here's a shot we took earlier today of the gusty winds blowing around the trees. Your TrueView 6 forecast is coming up.
Now, your live, local TrueView 6 weather forecast with meteorologist Dave Hovde.
A lot going on today. The winds being the big story locally. Wind advisory for the Central Coast through 8 o'clock tonight. Wind warning for the Santa Barbara County's mountains all the way through Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. Some gusts 40 to 60. We've already seen some very strong wind gusts, and they'll continue tonight. Of course, we also have the transit of Venus across the face of the sun. This won't happen again until 2117. Tim Oster out there, one of our great contributors in terms of photography. You can see that picture in high quality on my Facebook page, and pictures from all kinds of folks. And if you've got a great picture of the Venus transit, I want to see it as well. We also have details about it at KSBY.com. So San Luis Obispo, wind gust of 40, 41 Santa Maria, 37 in Santa Barbara, 40 in Vandenberg, and 41 in Lompoc. And all of these are from the last couple of hours here. What's going on? Well, yesterday we had a very strong area of low pressure and a cold front go through the Central Coast. High pressure is now building in, and as it continues to do so, it's going to turn the winds around more northerly, perhaps even northeasterly tomorrow morning, and temperatures are going to take a jump over the next couple of days. But we'll start off in the 40s. By noon, 67 at the beach, 76 coastal valleys, 72 degrees inland. There will be the afternoon breeze. It will turn back around out of the northwest or west and be about 15 to 20 miles per hour, but not this 40 mile per hour wind gusts potential. 83 inland, the warmest temperatures away from the beaches tomorrow. Right now, the impact of the onshore breeze is significant. It's drawn the temperature down to 58 in San Luis and 59 in Santa Maria, 66 in Solvang. It's 69 right now in Paso Robles, and the winds are averaging 25 to 30 miles per hour. When do they calm down? They'll calm down by midnight, but the advisory, meaning the wind gusts to 40, are there through 8 o'clock tonight, and again all overnight through the passes and canyons, and for those of us on the South Coast as well. So Wednesday's outlook looks like this: 84 Paso Robles, 76 in San Luis, and 73 in Santa Maria, 80 in Santa Barbara, 70 in Lompoc. How about Santa Ynez Valley temperatures? Looking pretty good in the upper 70s. Los Alamos 75, 73 in Orcutt. Looking at Arroyo Grande, 71, 67 Pismo, 72 in Nipomo, and 79 in Shandon. Look at the overnight low, about 40 degrees, 41 overnight in Atascadero, but a big rebound back to 84 degrees tomorrow. So plenty of sunshine and a little breezy in the afternoon the next couple of days, but looking pretty good. Low 70s to mid 70s in Santa Maria and Lompoc, really nice. San Luis, ideal, 76 degrees on Wednesday, 77 on Thursday, backing off just a smidge heading into the weekend. Paso Robles and North County, back into the 80s tomorrow, back into the 90s on Thursday and Friday, and mid-80s for the weekend, looking good. Santa Barbara and the South Coast, still another 80-degree forecast tomorrow, but then backing off into the 70s by the time we get to the weekend. It's been a great weather week, astronomy week. Really excited.
1882, you say the Venus thing was the last time?
1882 to 2117, 235 years in between the two.
You know, that one in 1882, that was the first year I got into the news business. I'm covering that.
Yeah.
That's just
Long
what
ago.
the directors were saying in my ear.
Really?
Wait, so you've covered a lot of elections too.
Oh, now they're saying wrap it up,
Okay.
move forward. Thank you very much,
You're
Dave.
welcome.
No, they didn't say that. Santa Maria voters will decide today if the city should increase its sales tax.
Coming up after the break, we'll check back in with Caroline Lowe, who's in Santa Maria, where city leaders are meeting right now to discuss Measure U.
Well, voters in Santa Maria have about 95 more minutes to decide if they support an increase in the city's sales tax to help pay for essential services.
Caroline Lowe has been at City Hall, where the City Council has been holding its regular meeting. What are you hearing, Caroline, from everyone?
Well, John, actually the Measure U is not on the City Council agenda. In fact, there's not much on the agenda tonight, but the whole Measure U thing is very much in everybody's mind here. We've been talking with the city manager's office and talked with the fire chief a little while ago. They're hopeful, but there's really a lot of anxiety, a lot of concern if Measure U doesn't pass in just over an hour from now. But we'll be standing by here after the council meeting is done. They're going to go across town to a union office where they're going to wait for the results, and they hope to have something in the next couple of hours. We'll bring you those results at 10 and 11 tonight. Live and local in Santa Maria, Caroline Lowe, KSBY News.
All right, we'll find out in 95 minutes whether it happened, start getting the results, but the decision will be made in about an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah, so you've still got 63 minutes to get out there and get to your polling place. We're going to check back in with Kathy Karetich now, who's watching those polls and numbers.
How's everything looking, Kathy?
Oh, Jeanette, we are anxiously waiting here in the election center. Like you just mentioned, those polls are set to close in about an hour. Then shortly after 8 o'clock, we'll start to see those race results come into the newsroom. We do know that Mitt Romney has taken a couple states tonight, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota, already adding to his delegate total. Live and local in the newsroom, Kathy Karetich, back to you guys.
All right, it's going to be a good night. We will see you all later tonight.